and they say this, God is dead. Here's what I say. Let them attempt to write out God's obituary, but I say God's not dead. You can't show me his headstone. You can't take me to his grave. There's no place where God lies in state, and you'll find no mourners memorializing his memory. Some may not want to acknowledge him, but he is. You can't take life from the one who is life. God's heart still beats. His eyes still see. His ears still hear. His hands are still outstretched. His feet are still on this world as its footstool. God is still on his throne. I say the God of Abraham still lives. I say the God of Isaac still lives. I say the God of Jacob still lives. Let the liberals scoff and the critics sneer. But I say God has no chinks in his armor. God is not shaken on his throne. Thank God Elijah's God still lives. And Isaiah's God still lives. Thank God Billy Sunday's God still lives. D.L. Moody's God still lives. Jack Hyles' God still lives. Thank God he's where he's always been. He's not changed zip codes. He's not in witness protection. He's still ruler of heaven and earth. I'm talking about Jehovah God. I'm talking about the Almighty God, the everlasting God, the omnipotent, only true God. I'm talking about the God who came to Adam in the garden. He still is. Amen. I'm talking about the God who Noah found grace in his eyes. He still is. Amen. I'm talking about the God who got Lazarus out of the grave. He still is. The God who's alone is deserving of glory. He still is. The God of the fiery furnace. The God of the juniper tree. The God of Jericho. The God of Bethel. He still is. The God of Sinai and Sharon and Mount Moriah still is. The God of the Red Sea still is. You can't take me to his plot. You can't show me his tomb. You can't take me to his grave. Can I tell you, God is. He's from everlasting to everlasting God. He's from the first. He'll be at the last. There's never been a time when he wouldn't. There'll never be a time when he is. It doesn't matter who's in the White House. It's about who's on the throne. And you can't vote God out of office. You might put a donkey in. You might put an elephant in. But the Lamb still reigns supreme tonight. Amen. And I want you to know, in your generation, don't listen to the pundits, don't listen to the liberal, don't listen to the atheist, don't pay attention to the agnostic. God is still where he's always been. You don't have to blush, you don't have to back up, you don't have to apologize, you don't have to get nervous, you don't have to be ashamed, you don't have to hide it. We had to shout it from the housetop, let our light shine, blast our trumpet, swing our sword, and let them know God is still on the throne. I believe it's time. I believe it's time. I believe it's time for a voice to cry in the wilderness again. It's time somebody gets past the video games and gets beyond the ball and gets over the social standing and said there's something bigger out there than that. My generation needs a voice. My generation needs a light. My generation needs a representative. Can I say it's time that somebody gets it in their heart again that God is alive, that God is. They say, well, I don't want to think about it. It doesn't change the fact that God's on his throne tonight. Amen. There is a God. It might not be a palatable thing, but I'll tell you this, God is in every safe space. Hello? Where's that fellow from the skit? Anyway, God's in every safe space, every secular venue. He's there. They can't hide from him. They can't outrun him. They might walk around and try to deny him, but in their heart of hearts, they got to reckon with the truth that God is. There is a God this evening. By the way, I think they know that. Atheists, there is a God. Humanist, there is a God. Liberal, there is a God. Agnostic, there is a God. And can I say, it's not a generic God. He's not a fluid God. He's not a your God or my God. There's only one name under heaven given among men whereby you must be saved. In the fullness of time, God sent forth his Son who was born of a woman. Thank God. You say, what's his name? I'm glad you asked me. His name's not Buddha. His name's not Muhammad. It's not Obama or your mama either. Amen right there. His name is Jesus. He's God. He's the only God. It doesn't matter what you think. It doesn't matter what you believe. It doesn't matter what they say. It doesn't change the fact that Jesus is. He is God this evening. He's not just a baby in a cradle. He's not just a man from Capernaum. He's not just a Jew who died on the cross. He's the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. He's the conqueror of death, hell, and the grave. Thank God there is a God. There's a God. He's where he's always been. There's a God. He's alive and well. well. There's a God. He's not changed a bit. There's a God. He has not altered. There's a God. And this world is nothing but his footstool. The Bible said in Psalm 90 verse 2, before the mountains were brought forth, or ever thou hast formed the earth and the world, even from everlasting to everlasting, thou art God. Long after the scoffers are silent, long after the critics have ceased, long after the doubters are done, God will still be where God's always been. And you got to go out tonight into your generation and remind a lost and dying world, hey, that there is a God in heaven. Philosophy can't dethrone him. Time can't cause him to expire. Breaking his law doesn't cause him to crumble. And I'll say you might vote him out of politics, but you can't kick him out of office. You can't remove God. The years come and go, but God still is. Time rolls on, but God doesn't change. There's no creaks in his knee, no ache in his back, no sweat upon his brow. He hadn't even started working yet, amen? He hadn't even worked up a sweat. God's where he's always been this evening. I mean, the God who existed before existence. The God who created it all out of nothing. The God who saved my soul, supplies my needs, and steers my steps. Thank God he's on the throne tonight. You can't hashtag God out of existence. He lives, he is, and he'll always be. For I determined not to know anything among you save Jesus Christ and him crucified, that I may know him and the power of his resurrection. Your generation doesn't have to know LeBron. But boy, they need to know there's a God. They don't have to even know Trump or Hillary, but they better know there's a God. They don't have to know how to work an iPad or an iPhone or whatever, but they better realize there's a God. They don't have to learn how to drive a stick, and they might not be too good with an automatic, but they better understand there's a God. Can I say it doesn't matter your IQ, there's a God. It doesn't matter your schooling, there's a God. It doesn't matter your degree, there's a God. It doesn't matter what others say, there is a God. Isaiah 45:5 says, I'm the Lord and there is none else. There's no God beside me. I girded thee though thou hast not known me. I want you to know there's a God tonight.